You're listening to TehachaPod with Key Budge, Corey Costello, and Greg Garrett.
Welcome to another episode of TehachaPod. Today we've got Greg Garrett is with us. Corey Costello, as always. We have a special guest. Assemblyman Vince Fong is with us, and it's really exciting to have you with us today. I just want to say I had a conversation with Greg, and I said, Greg, it would be great to talk to Assemblyman Fong with what's going on. I think it would be a great podcast. People would like to hear what's going on. And Greg says, okay, let me give him a text. Greg, I mean, it was that easy, wasn't it?
I did. I gave Vince, I say Vince.
Vince is fine.
Fong.
I prefer Vince.
It's great to be able to have that relationship with our lawmakers, at the state level, because we pick up the phone and we call each other and we understand what we need at the local level. He understands that because he grew up in the Kern County area, and I'm sure we can get into that a little bit later, but it's just, we're blessed to have somebody like Assemblyman Fong representing us in the assembly up in Sacramento.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
The fact that you were able to carve out time for us, and we were able to do this in a moment's notice, and the fact that you pick up the phone for our city manager, for me, it just says we have a good relationship with you and what's going on. So thank you for being available and making Tehachapi available, because everyone here appreciates
thanks
that.
For what you guys are doing right now too. I mean, we're in uncharted territory. Yeah. That's definitely true.
What's it been like? I mean, and what's it been like? And I'm curious, what's it like really in Sacramento, or obviously not being in Sacramento, but the vibe of your fellow legislators right now, because like you said, it's uncharted territory. We know what we're dealing with at the city. You've got a bunch of cities in your district and a bunch of constituents as well, sort of looking to you. So what's that like right now? Obviously, this is new. There's no playbook for this.
No, there isn't. I mean, we've certainly gone through crises like wildfires, earthquakes, the power shutdowns, but this is something that is definitely taken on a whole different level. And I've been in constant contact with a number of my colleagues throughout the state. Jordan Cunningham on the Central Coast, Tom Lackey down in Lancaster, Palmdale. I was talking to some legislators in the Bay Area today, and we're all trying to support each other. I mean, the concerns and the challenges that we have from a public health side, getting equipment, PPE, N95 masks, ventilators. We're all trying to support each other, and as well as trying to take care of our local community. And every community is different. LA has a certain number of challenges right now. They are probably maybe a week or two ahead of us in terms of where they are, in terms of their numbers. We're at 82, I think, the last time I checked this morning of confirmed COVID-19 cases. We overtook San Luis Obispo. I think they were, I want to say, at 60 or 70 yesterday. And then the Bay Area definitely has been a hot spot way ahead of us. And so, we have kind of the benefit as a state to watch what other states have done and then what other countries have done. But then as a county, we're watching what other counties are doing as well.
Right. It's just such a dynamic moving target. We talk about numbers. I think we need to state it's the very last day of March 31st, around 4:30 in the afternoon. We're recording this, but when it's actually produced and put out on the airwaves, those numbers could be very, very different. I know the President of the United States and the Governor have asked us to flatten the curve, do everything we can. And I know in Tehachapi, everybody is just doing their part. It's quite amazing. And then at our hospital, Adventist Health, those guys are just rocking and rolling.
Oh, yeah. The hospitals are doing great in terms of preparing, especially in Tehachapi. I always caution and tell the public right now is that the numbers are constantly changing. And so we expect that. And so as the testing ramps up, as more tests are being done throughout the county and through every community, those numbers are going to change. And so that's what. So I always caution and try to reassure individuals and residents in our community that those numbers are constantly going to change. What we want to make sure is that when we talk about bending the curve, we want to make sure that the infection rate is low enough that we actually buy us enough time so that our hospitals and our medical professionals can plan and prepare. And that's what we're trying to do.
With the medical, and you're talking about you paying attention to what's going on in other counties, what's going on in other states. Have you been able to take anything away from what we've seen that's gone on where some of the other hot spots are that you've been able to look at and say, I want to make sure that we're kind of focused that way in our area?
That's a great question, Key. I was just thinking, my question that I had written down is, what can Tehachapi do or do more of or less of? Because you're representing a broad, we're looking at just our town or our community, but what can we do more of or less of in our region?
Well, we're all learning from each other, and I think what we're doing is what we're doing right now is important and appropriate, which is we're encouraging everyone to stay at home unless they need to leave for essential items. Socially distance, wash your hands, hand sanitize. Those are critical to slowing the spread. And then, of course, we are preparing every. I text every hospital CEO and executive every morning, checking in with them. To make sure they have enough protective equipment, asking for their needs, whether we need to buy more ventilators or as we ramp up production. And, as we get more equipment from the national stockpile, that's just buy us enough time so that we can procure enough of our own. So, we hear stories now of Brooks Brothers making masks and, Apple sending ventilators. Elon Musk has taken ventilators and shipped them to the United States. So all of that is being distributed not only throughout the country, but throughout California as well. And then, the Kern County Public Health is doing a great job. They're setting up FEMA trailers at the fairgrounds. So I think there are like three aspects I try to keep how I kind of structure everything right now. There's the public health side and the healthcare side, making sure that we're prepared and that the public is doing everything we can to slow the spread, but then also ramp up our healthcare needs. So yesterday, the governor announced this statewide initiative for this California Health Corps. So as the surge comes, as we prepare for it, and no one knows when that will happen, but we're going to need more nurses and doctors and dentists and pharmacists. And so for those who are recently retired, those who are in the process of getting the medical license, those who are in nursing school or in medical school now, we encourage them to volunteer and sign up at healthcorps.ca.gov. And then so when we need you, we can put you into the system locally as if we get more patients. But then there's the economic side and the business side. Tehachapi has been leading the charge in terms of providing business assistance to those that have been affected by this public health pandemic that is occurring. And then there's other services that we're trying to deal with. The schools are closed, and so we're looking at the way businesses are doing things, the way government is delivering services, the way schools are delivering services. We have to innovate and adapt.
That was going to be a kind of question. I know we're dealing with this a little bit on a much smaller scale, but how do we continue the business of the people during this time? And we're getting creative. We've got plans for city council meetings, via Zoom, and then broadcast live to YouTube. So how is the legislature sort of thinking about, how do we continue to do business when obviously we can't do business the same way that we normally do because of this pandemic?
So I just actually was talking to our budget chair, texting with him this afternoon. So the public, we need to abide by the rules we expect that we ask the public to do. So when we ask the public to stay at home, to work from home, we need to live by those rules. And so we're doing that, and you guys are doing that too, socially distancing. But then we also need to create processes where the public is still being involved, that there's full transparency. And so as we deal with the budget, for example, we don't know when we're going to go back to session in Sacramento, but the budget deadline doesn't change. That's in the state constitution on June 15th. So how do we put together a budget? How do we develop develop a budget while still ensuring public input and transparency? And especially now more than ever, we're going to need everyone involved and everyone providing input, because we're going to have a revenue shortfall. We see that with just the amount of services and unemployment benefits and just everything that's happening. The business, local businesses are suffering. So we don't know what the May revise is going to look like. In May, we get a revision of what's coming in. The state has extended the tax deadline. So on the state and federal side, tax day is now July 15th. So usually we know what our revenue is based on how many people pay their taxes, but we won't have that this time around. And so that's going to be a challenge for us. Barring that specific issue, we're going to have to deal with how do we legislate and how do we get things going. And so that's all a moving target. And every government entity, from the state all the way down, we're all going through that process right now. You guys are having outdoor council meetings. People are going to Zoom meetings, doing it via phone. We've never gone through this before. But technology has allowed us in some way, and I make this argument that Tehachapi, actually not Tehachapi, it's a technology, but through Tehachapi, this example will allow us to actually get more input from the public. We have now the ability of people to email us comments using social media, using Zoom, whatever platform people want to use. That actually gives us an opportunity to gather more input, not less.
Certainly during a crisis, people come together, and there's always a silver lining. One of the things that I want to point out is that at this point in time, Americans are just Americans. It doesn't matter what party you're affiliated with, whether it's Democrat, Republican, Independent. Everybody is just pulling together and getting it done. And hopefully we can continue to have that teamwork as we move through, because when we come out the other end, this new economy that I've been talking about, we need to continue to work together to make certain that we can be better off than we were, pre-COVID-19.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that when I see this in my everyday life, everyone's coming together, regardless of party, regardless of your political views. We're in this together, and we're only going to get through this together. So we need everyone, doing our part to solve problems. Right now we're all problem solvers, and we all have to do our part. So whether it's checking in on somebody, checking in on a loved one, making sure that we're supporting local businesses, making sure that we're still communicating with each other, participating in local government, participating in state government, all of those things now, I think we still have to continue to do. Life still continues. We're still working on problems. And of course, the issues that existed pre-COVID-19, this healthcare pandemic, whether it's the wildfires and power shutdowns and water supplies, and making sure we have enough, supporting our agricultural industry and our energy producers. All those things still exist, and but hopefully in this new environment, we now can understand that these are essential services, and we need to figure out a way to support these industries that we rely on right now every single day.
We look back over the last year, especially in our region, we've had the earthquakes in Ridgecrest. We have the fires. We had the PSPS events. I think we've slowly but surely been working our way into becoming more independent or taking care of ourselves. I think a lot of our residents are starting to realize, I got to be able to take care of myself. So this is another part of that in a way, is making sure that we're prepared and thinking, about the family and what's under your roof structure, if you will, and making sure that you can be sustainable. It's for me, it's been a wild year, and this is kind of the cap, but I think we've kind of ramped ourselves up to understanding that we can't expect government to take care of us. We need to, as individuals, take care of ourselves.
Well, we certainly have been tested. I don't think I've ever seen that progression, but yeah, we had the earthquakes, we had the wildfires, we had the power shutdowns, and now we have this. Certainly it puts things in perspective, but I think you're absolutely right. We are now having to understand, what is essential? To use the phrase that everyone's using right now, what is important in our daily lives? What are the things that are just noise that we probably don't really need to worry about right now? So all the things that we're looking at, it's our family, it's our kids, it's our loved ones, it's the things that we really, really prioritize as number one, and then everything else is going to have to take a back seat. But you're right. We have to do our part now, not only as a state, but as a community, to take care of ourselves. What are we going to do as residents of Tehachapi to make sure that we are as self-sufficient as possible, to ensure that our hospitals function, that our utilities are functioning, and our lights are on, that we can power our homes and our schools and our medical facilities, ensure that we have enough food, that our gas stations are available. All those things, now we as a community are going to have to develop our own plans to ensure that we're all functional if another public crisis happens, which we know is going to, it could, another wildfire. Knock on wood, we won't have one when the summer comes, but we are always preparing for another crisis.
What's been your sort of, personal biggest challenge in all this? I mean, we've all got the things we've had to change or can't do anymore. Has there been one thing maybe for you that's changing your routine that's been especially tough?
You always take it for granted things that you normally can't do now. So, being able to just go over and see my parents, or going and, doing things that going to a restaurant and sitting at the bar and having a meal, like all those things, like there were things that you didn't really think about until you can't do it anymore. But I tried to keep the same routine. I get up at the same time. I check the news. I used to complain about the number of conference calls that I had to do, but I can't complain about that anymore because now everything's a conference call. Zoom, I haven't Zoomed or FaceTimed as much as I have probably the last few weeks. But we have to adapt. And I think that as we get past this, and I also tell your listeners is that this is all temporary. And it's important to recognize the fact that we are in a crisis now, but if we do everything we need to do, and everyone does their part, we'll get through this on the other side stronger than ever. But will things change? People are going to work. Are people going to work from home now more? Or are they going to use more technology? Or are our restaurants going to utilize more online platforms? That may happen, and that may be a good thing, to be quite honest. And will that foster more innovation? In times of disruption, we innovate, and I think that that's something that we won't foresee until we get through this.
I want to ask you about this because I know it's on the mind of some people. The supply lines. I know living here in Tehachapi, and I look out on Highway 58, I'm seeing 18-wheelers moving. I'm seeing the trains moving on the tracks. I think people would probably want to hear a little assurance that our supply lines of what we need to be sustainable is constantly moving, and we're not seeing any kind of a slowdown. Or can you comment on that at all?
Yeah. So our supply lines are functioning. We are constantly improving them, and that's going back to Corey's point. The things that we take for granted. The truck drivers, the warehouse workers, all those individuals that are making sure that our goods and services are being delivered. They're critical right now, and so our farmers are working. They're working overtime. The warehouse workers are distributing toilet paper and food and everything that we need. So rest assured to the community that our supply lines are good. So there's no need to hoard or panic buy. When people do that, we're impacting someone else's life because they're not able to get the supplies they need. So our supply lines are good. So if you need to go to the store, get a week's worth of food or supplies, enough to maintain your household, maybe 2 weeks, but you don't need to hoard or panic buy for a month, because all that's doing is forcing those who are vulnerable populations to now go out and spend more time exposing themselves in environments that they shouldn't be out there exposing themselves to.
Now, are you seeing, we hear about some businesses that are coming up and taking care of that vulnerable population. At your level, are you seeing or things that maybe we're not hearing about, how our seniors or those that have lower immune systems, that are there any companies that kind of jump out to mind that are kind of stepping up?
Well, there's a lot of companies that are doing things. And of course, technology allows us to check on individuals now, those from far away or just next door. The governor announced kind of a platform, a hotline for those to check on individuals. But we have to do our part just to make sure that we just check on our friends and our neighbors and our parents and anyone that we haven't heard in a while. And this is a great time just to see if you haven't heard from someone, just to check in and say hello. Yeah. Everyone does it differently, but I think there's no secret and there's no panacea here. We just need to make sure that if we think of someone that comes to our mind and we haven't heard from them in a while, let's make sure that we check on them.
Yeah, that's a good point, Vince. Yesterday I spoke with our director of the senior center and asked him, just checking in. Is everything going well? And he said, you know what? It is going so well, it's unbelievable. Everybody has stepped up. With the Meals on Wheels, Neighbors Helping Neighbors, he is unaware of one senior in the Tehachapi area that is not being taken care of. So that really
That's great.
Know that neighbors are taking care of neighbors, and we are pushing through this. And we're gonna come out together, and like you said, better off. It's tough, no doubt. It's tough now, and it may get tougher. but we will persevere. That's for sure.
And if there's individuals that that just can't drive, or they can't, that they can't leave their home, it might be worth giving them a call, getting a grocery list, from them every so often, and delivering, food, or buying them a meal. These meal trains. We used to do meal trains when someone had surgery, or someone had a new baby, but now we can do meal trains now just for individuals who are in need and just can't leave their house. And for those individuals, and this is why we're all doing this is to protect them. Not only are we protecting ourselves, but we're protecting the most vulnerable in our population.
I think the great thing that's coming out of all this, and I think Key had mentioned with all the events, the Ridgecrest earthquakes, which were felt here, which were also felt in Bakersfield and shook some people up, and then the public safety power shutoffs that we dealt with in Tehachapi, and now with this and wildfires. I mean, I just feel like there's kind of a toughness to our people, especially in Kern County.
We're certainly battle tested, that's for sure.
Yeah, I used this reference the other day. I mean, I used the scene in Rocky V when Rocky's fighting Tommy Dunn on the street, and he knocks him down, and he turns around and says, "I didn't hear no bell. One more round." I mean, that's what I feel like we are now. We just keep taking these punches.
And you got the Rocky V. You made it all the way there, huh?
Yeah, man. Underrated film, by the way. I mean, come on. But really, you're like, hey, man, I didn't hear any bell. Like, one more round. Let's go. We just seem like we're very resilient now to these things, and we're finding ways to survive, and that's just kind of human nature.
Well, I think resilient is the perfect word. We in Tehachapi and in Kern County, we're resilient, and I think we have to be in today's world. I mean, from what I've learned in my short time now in public offices, every day is a new day, every month is a new month, and we can't predict the future. But we always have to be prepared. And I think that, as you said, we are resilient. I don't think there's anything that they can throw at us now that we're not going to be ready for.
Absolutely.
Vince, you had mentioned a website earlier, and I want to just repeat that. Was that healthcare.gov? And then what was that exactly for?
Oh, it's healthcore, healthcorps.ca.gov. That healthcore.ca.gov. It's the website that, as we try to expand our healthcare medical workforce. If you are recently retired, so within the last 5 years, if you retired as a dentist or a pharmacist or a doctor, a nurse practitioner, a nurse, we need your help now to prepare in case the numbers in our hospitals go up. So, and then of course, if you're in the process of getting a medical license, you can apply. And if you're in medical school now, or if you are a nursing student about ready to graduate, we need you. We need your help, and so they can participate as well.
We can push that on our social media, on our website, and different venues, right, Key?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely.
Spread the word.
Exactly. So I know the hospital in Tehachapi is preparing, and they know, and they track the numbers. All the hospitals share their information right now of the number of cases that they have, the number of ICU beds that they have available, the number of ventilators and masks, and they're all working together to. If someone's short masks, they'll send masks to them. If someone's short gowns, they'll send gowns or gloves. So all of the hospitals are coordinated, but certainly as if more individuals have to go to the hospital, we need to make sure that we have enough people supporting the individuals that need help. And so, if you can come out of service or come out of retirement, get back into service, or if you're just wanting to help in some way, we certainly could utilize you.
I know we mentioned this at the top of the show, just in terms of obviously it's changing, and we gave a number, but we did just actually confirm 101 total cases now of COVID-19 in Kern County.
So it was
pretty significant jump.
Yeah, it was 82 this morning. So for those who are listen and watch, so the numbers locally get updated at 10 a.m. in the morning and then at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So that's 102. That's 20 new cases.
And they expected the number to grow. As more people are tested.
Yeah,
it's not a shock to anybody that the number is growing. Certainly. Yeah,
the COVID-19 cases are continuing to grow because the virus is in our community, and it's being spread amongst our community. But the way to stop it is to stay at home and to prevent. That's the only way to prevent its spread.
Right, for sure. Well, Vince, what can the city of Tehachapi do, or the Tehachapi community do, to help you better serve us in your capacity? Is there anything that you can think of that we can help you with?
Well, I mean, staying informed is important. So, I mean, I've encouraged people to go and get accurate information. So, the website that I refer people to is covid19.ca.gov. It's maintained by California Department of Public Health and the California Office of Emergency Services. All that information comes from verified sources. So the savers, it gives you all the help. It gives any assistance that you need, whether a small business owner, someone for a job, a parent needs to know how to interact with their school system and their school district. That's the way to get the information. Maybe you can participate in CORE. That's extremely important too. As everyone will come to the city, you are kind of a conduit information. So for small businesses and individuals, as the new federal economic stimulus comes online, and working with the SBA, we want to make sure that we get you guys the information so that you can get that information out there. I'm trying to think. I think the information is critical right now. That's the key, making sure everyone's getting all the information out there. And that's our number one priority right now. But whether it's the health side, the school side, or the business side.
Yeah, well, as we talked at the beginning of the show, we've got each other's cell numbers, so you can always text me or call me if there's. I
will do that. Be careful what you wish for.
And it goes back and forth both ways, right? So it's not a one-way street. That's for sure.
I will say this: that if there are any local businesses that want to assist, whether it's making gowns or making masks or making PPE, protective gear for our hospitals and first responders, certainly let us know. We certainly are in need. We're getting supplies from the state, but we always want to make sure that we supplement that. If we can do it locally, that'd be great. So if there are any local businesses that can help with that, that would be extremely helpful.
So if we get a business that contacts us, we want to go ahead and forward it to your team?
Yeah, forward it to me. Let me know if they can make plastic masks, if they can make N95 masks, if they can make gowns, hazmat suits, if they're in that business, or if they want to transition their business into helping that. I've known a couple local businesses that are involved in now making hand sanitizer. So a lot of distilleries and who were making beer and whiskey and wine, now they're converting their facilities into making hand sanitizer. And so if there's any local businesses that can do that, that's one example of how that could really augment our supply that we have locally.
The last couple of podcasts, we've talked about uncertainty in the air. And I totally agree with what you said about getting good information, educating yourself, puts you on a little bit more solid ground. And that's been our goal, is just trying to share valid information from basically where the talking points come from. So we appreciate you taking the time to share this with everyone here in the Tehachapi area.
Absolutely. It's critical.
We've tied up a lot of Assemblyman Fong's time. Do either of you guys have another question, or should we set him free back to Sacramento?
No,
I'm not going to Sacramento.
Virtual Sacramento. Yeah,
Virtual Sacramento.
Virtual Sacramento. Yeah.
Good.
Well, you always have a friend in Tehachapi. We appreciate what you do, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us a little bit today, and we hope to be able to do that again.
Well, I want to thank you for what you guys are doing. There's a lot of demands on you, and I think the public is going to expect a lot from us. And I think all of us are going to be up to the task. But I always want to end by saying, stay at home if you can, wash your hands. If you're not feeling well, go see your doctor. Check in with him or her. But we want to make sure that we take care of ourselves and we take care of our family members and our loved ones.
Well, with that, we'll say from the three of us, thank you very much, Assemblyman Fong, for your time, what you're doing, getting the information to us, to our public, and joining us here in a socially distanced version of TehachaPod. And hopefully sometime in the near future, we'll have you back and we can all sit around a table together when we're allowed to do that. So thank you for your time.
I look forward to that. Thank you very much, guys.
TehachaPod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@tehachapicityhall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of TehachaPod.